Okay, true story. For once, this is a true story. So I have a garden at my house, and it's got a fence, chain link fence, kind of like this, because we don't want the deer jumping in and eating all our stuff. Well, it's kind of on a slope, so where the gate is, there's a little gap underneath. And it was a couple of years ago, but we kept going out and checking on it every day, which you're supposed to do. And like, some of our stuff had been nibbled down to the ground. And we just couldn't, we were so frustrated. Like, we don't, is it bugs? Like, nothing could get in, or so we thought. Well, I came out early one morning. I just happened to be up, and because my dog had to go to the bathroom, so I had a flashlight, and I peered it over, and I saw, I'm not joking, a rabbit, a small bunny rabbit. He managed to slip underneath, and he was eating my garden. Oh, I was so irritated. So of course we had to block up and change the way the gate was made to keep him from eating all our stuff. But of course, it reminded me of this song. Old Mr. Rabbit, you've got a mighty habit, jumping in my garden and eating all my cabbage. Now, I didn't have cabbage. I had like carrots and lettuce that he was eating, but it was so annoying. So, old Mr. Rabbit, you've got a mighty habit. That's a slang for just, you've got a really bad habit. A mighty habit of jumping in my garden and eating all my cabbage. So, I've got a lot of pictures of vegetables to help us learn the song. And he's going to eat a lot of different things as we go through. So, join me if you can. Here we go. Old Mr. Rabbit, you've got a mighty habit of jumping in my garden and eating all my cabbage. Old Mr. Rabbit, you've got a mighty habit of jumping in my garden and eating all my carrots. Because I love that. Old Mr. Rabbit, you've got a mighty habit of jumping in my garden and eating all my tomatoes. Old Mr. Rabbit, you've got a mighty habit of jumping in my garden and eating all my onions. Old Mr. Rabbit, you've got a mighty habit of jumping in my garden and eating all my corn. He's eating all my stuff. Old Mr. Rabbit, you've got a mighty habit of jumping in my garden and eating all my potatoes. Some of these he has to dig up and eat. Old Mr. Rabbit, you've got a mighty habit of jumping in my garden and eating all my beans. Old Mr. Rabbit, you've got a mighty habit of jumping in my garden and eating all my radishes, which I totally love. Just a couple more. Old Mr. Rabbit, you've got a mighty habit of jumping in my garden and eating all my broccoli, which is my favorite. Old Mr. Rabbit, you've got a mighty habit of jumping in my garden and eating all my peas. So of course I'm very sad. We managed to block him, and I haven't seen him in a couple of years, so maybe our rabbit deterrent is helping. But you know what? Old Mr. Rabbit is determined, so he might one day find his way back in. In which case, I'll set up a recording of myself singing, Old Mr. Rabbit, you've got a mighty habit of jumping in my garden and eating all my cabbage.